Hello, hello. Good afternoon. TED Talk time. Oh yeah. Don't worry. We got some nice camera work going on today. Oh, before I begin, I'm gonna get my water. We have a lot to talk about today, don't we? What do you guys think of the background music, by the way? Is it too loud, too quiet? Just right. Sounds good. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. All right, I'm going to go over and get rid of our starting soon screen. Boop. And then we're going to hop into full cam for a bit. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hopefully you can see my face right now. Yes, you can. Perfect. Did a lot of preparation for this stream and for this topic, so I'm really excited to get going, but I'm going to wait about a minute two just for more people to wander in if they plan to do so. We have the dog in the background for dog cam. Extra viewership, as you normally would. Well, don't have much more of an intro to say, so we might as well get into it, shouldn't we? Or shall we, I should say. Shall we? I have my banner, as you can see. Cameras are weird. Right there. CRL Worlds banner. Scenarius, welcome. We're just about to get started. Just saying a quick hello. I also do have my CRL shirt underneath my my long sleeve. It's quite chilly out, first time this October. It's been a little too warm for my liking, but we're not here to talk about the weather. We're here to talk about CRL. So, I think it's time we get started. I would like to present to you the State of CRL by myself, Zeta, or by my full name, Michael Charlton, as many people know me. So, let me turn on my camera on the top right here. All right. The State of CRL, as I view it, and as a lot of the community members view it. Turn down the music just a tad. You got it, my friend. Let me know if that's good. I turned it down by 1.4 decibels. All right. So, topics. What are we going to be talking about today? We're going to be talking about, well, first off, who I am and why I'm doing this, and why I think I should be doing this. The decline of CRL. Main points are not enough return on the investment of doing CRL, and the signups have slowly started to stagnate, and that's a bit of a problem for the league in general. After that, we're going to do some personal experience with working in CRL by me, and also looking at a lot of community feedback and primary points which are currently being focused on. Then I'm going to be talking about just solutions, investments, ideas that I have that I think would benefit the community, or what I think Epic is trying to do and how to help them go along their path in doing what they're currently trying to do. And lastly, there will be a small Q&A if anyone has any questions. I plan to just kind of go through this kind of as quickly as I can, but also not too quickly. And we'll see, at the very end if anyone has any questions. Maybe it's RLCS related, maybe it's not CRL related, maybe it's about Unreal Engine 5. I can talk about that. And what I think is going to be happening with the game going forward, but we'll get there when we get there, okay? So, let's start. Who am I? Well, my name is Michael, or better known in the community of Rocket League as Zeta. I've been part of the Rocket League community since about 2017, 2018, and I have had a lot of high ranking positions in the CRL community, such as the Director of League of Operations at CCA, which I was since 2019, former CCA Head of Rankings and Statistics, alongside of being the League Operations Director. Former CRL admin. I did not get asked to come back this year. It's likely due to budgets, which we'll get into, but that's not really important. And I've also co-founded my own Canadian Collegiate League, which has been renamed multiple times. It is currently the Canadian Collegiate Rocket Soccer organization. We've hosted multiple LANs, or at least one large LAN at Durham College in 2019. I believe it was, and have had multiple online tournaments, which are all on Liquipedia. So why am I doing this? I really just wanted to share my thoughts about the Rocket League community and scene, CRL scene in general, for quite a bit. Having been in such a high position, I've had a lot of things I've wanted to say publicly, but didn't really feel as if it were appropriate to do so, especially with my status and my job. It's not something you can just like, oh, we're doing all this wrong. You can't really come out and say that while, you're working. You need to have like an objective level viewpoint and, respect your coworkers and your colleagues and, what you're doing, and just, push forward for what you can from the inside. But sometimes things need to be said, and that's why we're here today. I've come to shed, I probably spelt that wrong, some light on some flaws and ideas on how to move forward, which I've already stated previously. And I also wanted to create some off-season content because RLCS is over and we are content starved right now. So get your clips out. We're going to be clipping a lot. Make sure to clip me. I'm going to say a lot of stuff. Don't be afraid to post everywhere and anywhere. Sound good? Good. So here we are, the decline of CRL. Let us get into it. Let's start off with the easy thing. We're not getting enough return on investment, or at least Epic isn't. With the stagnation of CRL, Epic likely hasn't been getting enough return on investment, which is why we've seen several budget cuts over the past few years, not only in the prize pool, but staffing as well. We've had a large amount with the loss of B-Stream getting cut, loss of admins getting cut, and like we missed an entire season in the spring for multiple reasons, but one of them was also probably they couldn't figure out budgets in time and legal in time. But we do know the primary reason was that Blast was taking over production for everything Rocket League, and we knew that later, but that's become the main reason why, I believe, which is just a change in production by Epic, and they just didn't really communicate that there wasn't going to be a CRL season due to this, because why would they? It just doesn't benefit them to do so, to say anything. So they remain quiet, and as they do, they don't share any information with the community in a timely fashion or at all. I was also reprimanded for coming out and saying something like I didn't believe that there was going to be a CRL season, or that it was too late, and I was told to adjust my comments on that because people still viewed me as a CRL admin and thought that I was announcing the cancellation of the season, which I didn't have the authority to do, or B, at that time was a CRL admin because we weren't under contract because there was no CRL. So, bit of a miscommunication there, but everything was okay. Everything got fixed. But I believe one of the biggest reasons why the ROI hasn't been good enough might be due to the fact that lineups have stagnated for CRL, and we'll get into this right now. But first, this is a quick little graph depicting prize pools. Now, this information is not from the CRL rulebooks, which have all the correct information. I went to look and see if I could find the previous CRL rulebooks. I didn't have them all downloaded, so the best information I could get was on Liquipedia. Liquipedia, as I've stated in many public places before, is not a very reliable source of information for stuff like this. There are errors. As you can see, in fall 2022, spring 2023, there's a slight increase in the number by like $1,600 compared to fall 2021, spring 2022. That is likely an error, but I put it in anyway just because I was pulling all of my information. I wanted to get all my information from the same place. But as we can see, we have CRL Worlds, Championship, and League Play pricing. And we can see the dramatic decline over the past 2 years, mainly being we didn't have a spring season, and just Epic's not putting enough money into this anymore because they aren't seeing the benefits, right? So you can kind of see the multiple changes of the championship pricing and the league price has all been going up and down, up and down, up and down, all over the place. But league play is on the steady decline. There's no more worlds, and the championship is all over the place. So, you know, that's not good. That's not good for us. But moving on to why Signups stagnated, lack of Sorry, I missed a point here. I was going to say stagnation of signups for CRL. I will look into further, and we will talk about further. But for now, we're going to look at another point on which signups are stagnating, and I believe it's a lack of advertising in both IRL and in-game. Now, with no in-game billboard ads, no in-game news posts, nothing in-game saying, hey, CRL's signups are live. CRL, guys, check out CRL. The only thing that they've put forward in the game towards CRL has been the live stream button to notify, oh, there's a stream going on, but they also don't specify that it's CRL. So even if streams are live, you don't know what you're going to click on, right? And then a lot of people join in the stream, and then they're like, oh, there's no drops here, and then they leave. But that's a whole completely different topic. But no advertising has been done outside of Twitter, Reddit, and blog posts. And even with just those, they have been doing a minimum amount. So let's take a look. I'm going to pause the music for a minute here. Let's just go and take a look at these. These are the 4 posts that Rocket League made advertising CRL for this season. And this is one of the biggest issues I have, is the lack of advertising. So let's go take a look. Let's head to the good old Twitter. Don't miss your chance to get a spot in the CRL season. Registration info here. CRL Fall Open 1. Registration today by 7 p.m. I mean, it does have 24,000 views, but this is, again, one of 2 Twitter posts they made. That's it. That's all they did. They'd had 1 Twitter post during RLCS Worlds, and then 1 post reminding everyone that signups were closing. That's it. That's it. That's all they did. Two measly Twitter posts. All right. Here's their blog post, which they do once a year. Just outlining, you know, what is going to be happening in the current season. Schedule, signups, change in format, broadcasting information, and, you know, there are more to come, but there won't be. We know there won't be more to come, at least not until the end of the current season. At least that's what I believe. And then 1 Reddit post. Actually, this isn't the Reddit post. This is a list of everything CR related in the Rocket League Esports Reddit. So 3 days ago, we got our talent announcement, which, by the way, congrats to everybody on the talent roster. You've earned that spot. And it's great to see you guys finally get the recognition that you guys deserved. So shout out to you guys who got on the broadcast this year. 22 days ago, the Collegiate Rocket League is back. That was during Worlds. It has 56 votes. CRL 1 playoff bracket 1 day ago. That was the first round. And then 22 days ago, EU is cut from Collegiate Rocket League. So I wouldn't even call this advertising, more so just discussion, more than anything, because not a lot of people check Reddit for signups for stuff these days. But, you know, that's how it goes. But yeah, this is it. This is all the advertising done for Rocket League this semester. So, yeah, they, in my opinion, really need to step up advertising, especially in-game. And speaking of in-game, here's an example. That was us. Yeah, it was you, AJ. It was definitely you guys. We'll talk more about EU getting cut later. But here's an example, a great example of, hey, look at this old Rocket League Championship Series. League play, September 24th, 25th. What a great, wow, hey, I'm just playing the game casually. Oh, what's that along the panel boards now? Oh, there's something going on September 24th, 25th. Maybe I'll check that out, right? These in-game ad boards could be used for more advertisements, especially for CRL. And I think they're being greatly underused even right now for RLCS. If you look at a good example, I can't believe I'm saying this, but a better example would be how the NHL arenas use advertising on their hockey boards. And it's just plastered with ads. And now everyone's like, oh, I don't want to see more ads, blah, blah, blah. You don't have to use 300 different ads. You could just have 3 or 4 reoccurring ones for upcoming events, current sponsor, and something to like look forward to coming up. And it not being about just in-game item shop stuff. And let's talk about in-game item shop stuff with this video by our good friend Hootie who had this to say about the news billboard while streaming, I believe, late last week or the week before. So I'm going to mute, and he's going to take over for me.
You have a mother freaking billboard built into your mother freaking game, and the only time we use it is for the mother freaking item shop. Dude, please put the major details here. Please put RLCS details here. Please put your major winner here. Highlight the team. Please use this for something other than God dang Dracos. Please.
Absolutely agree with what Hootie had to say. You should definitely be highlighting your RLCS and CRL events, teams, winners, brackets, everything should be popping up when you open the game, or at least having a news tab dedicated to your esports stuff, tournaments, events, pages. Even put the women's stuff in there as well, right? Like your opportunity is there, and you're deciding not to do anything. It's like you're purposefully sabotaging yourself by not doing the bare minimum. This is definitely the bare minimum that you should be doing, right? Like it blows my mind. It blows my mind how simple it would be just to be put CRL champions, RLCS champions, here are the players, here's the team logo, boom, you know? And they don't do it, right? They don't do it. So I'm going to go back, put on some more music here in the background. Let's do a new song here. Oh, I got an ad, so we're going to be muting that until the ad's over. Gotta love YouTube. Gotta love YouTube. Actually, we're going to do this one. Once again, let me know if the music is too loud for you guys. Change of song, change of pace.
Hey, you have...
Yes, thank you, Hootie. Okay, so why CRL signups have stagnated. No CRL in the spring has also probably contributed to the lack of, or the disinterest in CRL in the fall so far in the signups for the first, we'll call it open / qualifier 1. I am going to turn the music down a little bit more, just because it does feel a little loud. Other competitions have also risen up. NACE, NECC, Playfly, and ECAC have all started to gain more momentum in the Rocket League scene and for collegiate signups. So that's also probably another contributing factor as university college coaches and directors are kind of faced with a choice of what your team can sign up for so that they don't overbook and, get their schedule overlappings. So they kind of need to pick and choose what they're going to do. And that's too bad because a lot of players would choose CRL because it's the premier, Collegiate Rocket League event. Oh, hang on. My browser is messed up. My apologies there. I don't like when Google does that to me. So now we're back in full screen. Players went into CRL, but directors are less likely to prioritize that now because it doesn't really benefit their program as much as what other tournament organizers are offering, and not just in Rocket League. And let's go, as you saw earlier, as I was exiting my slideshow. This is a post done by Shu. Shu's my good buddy. He worked with me for the stats department for CCA and CRL the past few seasons. Great guy. He also helped me out with some numbers for this presentation. And just by looking at these numbers, we're down over 100 signups between the two fall seasons, which is really bad. Really bad. East alone usually averages 300 teams. And like peak CRL signups. It's not good. And when you're thinking about, this is Mexico, this is Canada, this is all the United States, and we only got 330 teams? That's not good. That's not good at all. So here's a graph I made. I'm going to hide my camera for a minute here. So here is the numbers. Thank you, Shu, for helping me get these numbers on the left for Q1, Q2. I know Q2 doesn't really work in a sense this year that it's a different style. It's not qualifiers into league play. It's just like 4 open events. But we're going to use the same metrics anyway, just because it acts as the same. So as we can see, Q2 normally has a higher sign-up rate as it is a later date and people become more aware of the event that's taking place. But we can see the trend lines for both are coming down in that Q1 itself was around 500 and is now down to 400 on average, only dating back to spring 2020. So again, we're losing teams, we're losing numbers. And that's just not good. That's just not good at all. So something's got to change here, right? Here is a post from, I can't pronounce it. I'm just going to say Kurt, depicting the statistics for the registrations for NECC, NACE, PlayFi, and ECAC. As we can see here, their Rocket League numbers are vastly different. However, for the first time, I believe, in collegiate history, CRL is not at the top. CRL is not number 1 in signups. And that's crazy to me because it's the premier event. And yet NECC kind of blew CRL out of the water with terms of teams signed up. Now, I know they have multiple different divisions, and a lot of schools have a lot of different teams in different divisions. But we've moved back to the CRL in which you can sign up as many teams from your school as you want. You know, it's no longer you have to do an inter-school qualifier, which was brought in, and I personally didn't like that at all. But still, it's crazy to me that these are the actual numbers that signups are getting. The NECC has surpassed CRL in terms of signups for Rocket League. Right? And you have NACE and PlayFi who broke up over the summer. If you weren't paying attention to that, they kind of were together and they disbanded and created their own 2 separate entities. But they still got, the same amount of number. ECAC there with 201. Saints Sean is commenting saying CRL hasn't had the top registration numbers in years. Now, that's probably true. Going back to my graph. Where was it? No. I guess it's here. Going back to my graph, the decline. So that is probably true, Sean. I just, however, couldn't find that information to confirm it, so I left it out of the presentation. Huntley, I see your comment, but I will talk about that later. Again, there is a Q&A or just a general comments at the very end of the presentation that I will be talking about. But that is interesting for information for you to pass on at the moment, because if that's the case, that's a huge ordeal. Haven't taken down this year's data. Okay, well that's good to know. But again, peak CRL was getting 600 teams signed up, right? For just Rocket League. And we're down to 330. So we're half of what we were at our peak, which again, not good. But let's continue. Another huge reason why I believe signups is stagnating is the lack of sponsorships and support for CRL. So the lack of having a consistent sponsor has hurt CRL greatly. Now, we have had Nissan, as is on my banner in the background behind me. We did have Nissan the last time we had a CRL Worlds, or the first time we had a CRL Worlds, helping us with that sponsorship. So shoutouts to them. But however, the limitation of sponsorships has done tremendous damage to Rocket League's ecosystem, and not only CRL and RLCS, but the grassroots events and community events as well. So this is all thanks to the RL community tournament guidelines. The main ones being disallowed are energy drinks and automotive companies for community events, right? So I can confirm personally, Red Bull has been trying to sponsor multiple Rocket League events and get into the Rocket League scene as a sponsor for many years now, and personally tried to sponsor some of my own events that I was trying to create, but it wouldn't work out because of the community guidelines. And, they just keep getting shut down by Psyonix every time, which, is hurting local events that I could have been running for the past few years here in Canada with others, right? And I'm sure other energy drinks have tried as well, Monster probably as well. But it seems very unfair to the community that we can't go to an automotive company like Ford or Nissan ourselves, but Psyonix can. But then what we can do is we can get automotive insurance companies like Progressive to sponsor unique events, while not, the automotive companies themselves. So it seems like Psyonix is cutting us off in a lot of these sponsorship opportunities and areas, and it's hurting the grassroots. It's hurting the local community, and not just like CRL, but collegiate local for myself. So that would be like Ontario leagues, or like Canadian leagues for me specifically, in my experience. So there's that. And again, all while there are all sponsorships with all my companies all the time, like Ford, like Nissan, like all the new cars that are coming into the game that are getting deals for their cars. This is just a quick snippet that I'll show. This is the exact wording. I'm not going to talk about this much, but this is the exact wording of the area in which I was talking about. This was taken on September 26th, 2024, indicating that tournaments cannot include any marketing, promotion, endorsement, or sponsorship of any of these entities, products, or services on the following lists. You have your easy drugs, tobacco related products, vaping products, alcohol, but then it does still include energy drinks and automotive companies, which I think should be removed. The others I have no gripes with, but those two have really hindered my personal local events and community events from getting a sponsorship, and then having the event run in general because we couldn't get a sponsorship. So that's also a big issue in my opinion. So we're going to move now towards more personal feedback. I'm also going to put the music back on. Hopefully I don't get an ad. I do get an ad. I apologize. Just give me 2 seconds here, as YouTube likes to really tease me while I'm trying to do background stuff. But personal experience and community feedback is what we will be talking about. I did post on Twitter asking for some feedback from people, which we will be going over. So we are going to be talking about that in a little bit. All right, music is back on. We're ready to roll. And here we go. So the disconnect between Epic and the community. it's quite obvious that there's still a large disconnect between what the community wants / needs and what Epic is willing to do. And we are going to explore personal opinions and communications via DMs, posts, and all that stuff that I've gathered over the past week or two. There's also still a lot of creative differences, me personally, that I will get into later. And then finally, lack of support to EU. Shoutouts to my EU team. You guys are the best. I love you. So, community feedback. Let's start off with Fishy. Biggest issue with CRL is the complete 180 compared to the opinions of 2022, where Psyonix / Epic at the time saw it as a massive place to expand into, and now just sees it as something it sorta has to commit to without really any passion behind it. Also, the lack of EU CRL now. I 100% agree, and I followed up and asked, do you think that this is just due to the layoffs that happened last year, or do you think Epic is in a new direction? They replied, I think a mix of both. Ian was the main guy pushing for CRL, and without him there, I think they're moving in a new direction. I forgot to loop my music because I am not paying attention. So, I 100% agree. I also agree that Corey, if anyone remembers esports Corey, who was head of the esports team at Psyonix, was a huge advocate for CRL and pushing for it to be the best that it could be. And I have to say that once Corey stepped away and left, the snowball began to roll downhill for CRL. We did have another Worlds after that, but I don't know if it was out of just that was the plan to keep going or not. But soon, a year after, you know, the layoffs happened, right? And so we lost JJ, we lost Chloe, we lost a lot of good people. Some remained but were moved to different divisions. JJ, I don't think was laid off. Rather, she left somewhere else. She went to go follow a job in new footsteps. But all those people are currently greatly missed in the CRL stream. Strangest, yep, strangest. It's been a real disappointment, and it seems that those people were really, you know, they seem to care a lot about CRL, and now that they're gone, Epic's new style or view of CRL has deteriorated greatly. And we can see that by other comments made by community members. Tristan says, the fact that it disappeared without any notice will always be weird to me. Not even an apology after the new season was announced. And again, it's more so of it's again that like Rocket League / Epic / Psyonix don't like communicating with us and giving us information that would benefit the community. JD did make it. Yes, JD, you did make it. I will mention your comment in a minute. Scenarius in the chat says, I can wholeheartedly agree that Corey was a driving force behind everything, including the expansion of EU. The staff who took over are great people, and I have nothing but respect for their effort they put in. I agree with that statement as well. And it might not be them, right? It might not be the esports team saying, okay, let's put CRL on the back foot. It could just be upper management of Epic being, okay, we don't value this anymore. Because again, earlier in the conversation, we were talking about return on investment, and it just isn't there anymore. Right? But yeah, but CRL was not their expertise. Yes, I agree with that as well. But moving on, JT, who's in the DJ TJ, I'm having dyslexic. I'm dyslexic. Let's just say it right now. I'm dyslexic. His comment was, communication plus involvement of community. I love CCA, but I feel like things have gotten more and more corporate each year. Would love for CRL to have more fun, especially given the talent. Highlighting players more often, all the way down to just Discord activity. I 100% agree, and it has, and I noticed this as years went on. It was being pushed more and more corporate after CCA was bought by eFuse, and then we had to go through them to partner with CRL. The the collegiate atmosphere faded away, and it became just like, okay, this is where you go to sign up and you do stuff, and that's it. We lost our community events. We lost our community just hangouts. We lost our community stream, like watch-alongs. And it sucks. It really did suck. And I agree that we really need to bring the community back on its feet by doing these things more and more. We lost the personal aspect of CRL. No B stream. TJ says in the chat, no B stream, less player interviews. Things just don't feel like collegiate esports anymore with CRL. Yeah, I have to agree. And then Scenarios also said they did a good job of keeping things ticking over, but all discussion of what are we trying to do here or how can we improve this stopped when Corey left. I also agree with that statement. Why have the haters in CRL Gen never been highlighted? We could run content on our own. Yeah, probably you could. You could honestly just start clipping stuff from the Discord and posting it on Twitter to get some content out there, but, you know, I didn't go that route as I knew a lot of the conversation was going to be just inner circle in the Discord, so I didn't pull much from there. But moving on. Shane says, dev communication, dev support, dev interest. They've made it pretty clear that they don't care and gave us 4 regionals, so we shut up. And then finally, Cam, support is the easy answer as to what is wrong with the community today. And I have to agree that the lack of communication, the lack of support, the lack of interest is a driving factor as to what is wrong with CRL today. And it's unfortunately not much that we, the people working for it, could do. Moving on, this is a DM I got, and 2 DMs I got from 2 separate people. I'll start with the one on the left. Saw your tweet and wanted to say I agree with Shane and Cam, who we just read comments earlier. A lot on the support side. Feels like CRL as a whole is forgotten about by Psyonix and put to the side until they need/remote me care to run it again. Like last spring, we had no word on anything, and Mateo alone had to do his best to support us, but he's only one person. Dev communication/more Psyonix communication would be such a game changer. I and other players have also agreed that the title reward should not have changed to just the top 2 teams anymore. It will just be Northwood, Fisher, Akron, and Washington, West Virginia, WVU, or some other top 4 East team, getting them every single time. In the past, the titles felt good for everyone, and no matter where you ranked skill-wise. I said, thank you for your feedback, and they replied, of course, thank you. Thanks for all you and the rest of the crew have done for CRL. It's been a dream of mine ever since high school, and I will be able to fulfill it thanks to you and everyone else. So I wanted to include that because that is why I do what I do as a TO and as a community manager. My job is to make it so that the people participating have the best experience possible. And that's, you know, what I try to do on my time with CRL. So yeah, I'm glad that I got the recognition there from said individual. That really meant a lot to me. Moving on, this is Coach Faust from, I believe, Landon University. He DM'd me on the weekend of the first CRL Open stating this: while I am a paid coach for our athletics department and CRL does not allow coaches on rosters anymore, which I found to be very weird. I have a team that is rank B+A and rank X, and they had to forfeit out of the first round today because coaches are not allowed to handle the administrative duties of CRL because we are not allowed on the roster, and my player was unable to check in for the match, meaning we got DQ'd. I'm confused why we have a top-tier collegiate tournament not allowing paid coaches to do their job. We are running over 250 matches per year, and I have not had a single forfeit in 5 years. This is how it happens. It's ridiculous. Now, if you don't know, CRL recently made a rule change not allowing coaches or managers to sign up on start.gg. Why did they do this? I have no idea. The only possible solution I could think of was that they weren't pulled for ranked MMR while ranking. Besides that, I couldn't really tell you. There has been a discussion of whether or not there should be a coach's role for start.gg signups because there's a philosophy that players should be held accountable when signing into matches and whatnot. However, on the flip side, you do have coaches slash directors of universities who this is their literal job to do these things for the team. As you wouldn't go to a player in, say, a football match to ensure that his team has arrived on time and are ready to play. That isn't his responsibility, right? So this is an interesting take on who's responsible for the team. And it seems like CRL has shifted it to being it's 100% the player's responsibility, and the coach is kind of just a guy who exists in the background. Where, as every other major sport slash esport, I don't think that's the case. And I think it's a very weird stance that CRL has taken in this particular situation. Coach Faust went on to say that I am not allowed in the lobby to take screenshots or save leave plays for stats, and we have a class internship that rely on getting those stats, which I found to be really cool. And I did recommend to Coach Faust to try and get a stream going in which he would be allowed in the lobby and able to, save statistics and replays and get them that way. And it would also allow him to be in the match and verify that the match is going smoothly. His last comments were, but yeah, let's stop gatekeeping coaches from doing their job because it doesn't hurt anybody to allow a coach on a roster to be able to walk the team through the tournament so the players can just focus on playing. It's better for everybody in the end, in my opinion. He told me I could quote him on all of these points, and so I decided to do so. And then once again, I agree with the coach in that if you have a coach who's paid to do these things, they should be allowed to do these things. And it's really dumb to not allow them to do these things just to simplify sign-up processes or put blame on players rather than coaches for not doing jobs correctly in terms of signing up. Now, is it a big deal who should be checking into the match? No. But again, if it's this person's job and you're denying them from doing their job, it's kind of weird, right? So, but moving on, we're now going to get into some personal, personal feedback from me. And that is the fact, these are a lot of creative differences with Psyonix / Epic. And we are going to talk about the colors in game. I'm going to mute the music because I'm going to go off here. I'm going to go off really, really hard. Get the clips out. All right. Get the cam on. Get the dog in the background. Let's talk about it. The year is 2024. And we are still using orange versus blue for both CRL and RLCS on mainstream. Every single professional broadcast for sports and most esports have colored teams that represent the team. It is one of the main aspects of being a unique team, being a unique school, having unique colors. This image here on the CCA broadcast, chef's kiss, looks amazing. Shout out to Jack and all the people who worked on it. Lovely. Love it. B-Stream, goated. For a few years, almost every single year, people would come into the CRL B-Stream and ask why it looks better than the A-Stream. And the answer every single time was that they don't care. Because they don't. It's plain and obvious that they don't care about what they're promoting. They don't care that colleges and universities are unique and they're different and they have their own colors and their own palettes and whatnot. They just want it to be, here's a stream, play the video game. You are actively sabotaging your broadcast experience by not doing this. It's not an opinion. It is a fact. This looks better than anything that has ever appeared on the CRL A stream or RLCS. It's not an opinion. It is a fact. And I'm not saying the design. The design can be debated. I am talking about use of colors. Use of universities' colors. Use of RLCS team colors. Use of logos. The map. The color of the map. Look at how good this looks. In white. Because Northwood is on the white team. Because they are the color white. That is their school color. It beats orange and blue, that's for sure. We have the technology to do this. And we refuse to do it. It took them how many years to customize the ball for RLCS? AJ in the chat just brought up the point I was about to make. He says, we managed to sneak one weekend of custom colors onto the main RL channel in the first EU RLCS season before they told us to turn them off mid-broadcast during our LCQ. They also had a custom ball for that event, if I'm not mistaken, which they were also told to turn off after confirming they could use both. And mid-broadcast were told to turn them off. How has it taken you however many RLCS seasons to just now create a custom ball for the event? How did it take you this long? How are you still so far behind everybody else? The main broadcast. It is a joke to the esport. A joke. In comparison, here is the Call of Duty Major League. Two pictures between two of the biggest rivalries in Call of Duty esports, FaZe Clan and Optic, in their match using in-game skins. This is what a professional broadcast does. This is how a developer supports, in some fashion, the esports organizations. We look to the bottom left picture of a home and away concept for Optic. Why don't we have those decals in the game when Optic is playing? I don't know. The players don't need to equip them. We can overlay them on the car. We have that technology. Bacchus mod exists and has existed for many years now. It's not hard. They refuse to make the broadcast experience better because it is just more work for them. This is the bottom right picture. Gen G Mobile 1 versus G2 Stride. Orange versus blue. The only color is in the logos on the small left and right hand side of the names. You have goal explosions with team logos on them. You have home and away decals. And wheels. And you refuse to create a good looking broadcast with those items that you have. It says my small issue. It's not a small issue. It's a very big issue. You have home and away decals for home and away teams. Home team gets home colors, away team gets away colors. It's not a difficult concept. Make the broadcast look good for your esport. Make it look professional. When someone scores, use the team goal explosion. You have the technology. Anyway, let's go back to CRL. Let's go back to CRL. Here are some solutions / ideas that I had that I cooked up in a few days. I didn't spend too much time just because I had some emergency stuff going on, but Let's go back to. I'm red hot right now. I'm like burning up. I need to turn my fan on a little bit more. So just give me 1 second. I really got angry at that one. I'll be 1 second. Okay, I've taken my sweater off because I've gotten so hot, and I now have my fan blowing into me. So we should be good. Let's turn the cam back on. Okay, so solutions and ideas. So number one, a lot of people probably won't agree with me on this one, but I think it's kind of where things need to go. So making CRL fall only. Hang on, the wind is blowing my hair and I don't like that, so I'm gonna pause 1 second. You guys can read this. I'm a picky person. Dubly frustrating, given a lot of these broadcast fixes won't even be expensive or require any in-game dev work scenarios. I 100% agree. Fix my hair a little bit. Okay. So, making CRL fall only. Why should CRL be made fall only? Well, for starters, their RLCS season seems to be becoming a January to August calendar year event. And it would just make sense to then have CRL be the thing going off in the RLCS off season. So it's January to August RLCS, September to January CRL. January being where you could do a live finals event or a Worlds, right? So streamlining the schedule is probably the best thing to do right now in the Epic formats, and is likely what Epic is going to be doing going forward. This should also then allow other leagues like NACE, NEC, etc. to run in the spring. So you should reach out to them being like, hey, we don't want you guys to be in the fall. You guys can go do your own thing in the spring. CRL is going to be the only collegiate event in the fall. This would raise signups and bring more attention to CRL, right? You could also allow pros who are attending college or university to focus on collegiate without worrying about missing RLCS events or any overlap that has happened in previous seasons. And then in the spring, when RLCS comes back, they can go and play in other collegiate events without the pro players as they go and focus on RLCS, right? So in events like NACE and NEC, if they were to run in spring only, those would be without pros, right? Like you could say no pro players because the pro player circuit has started. So they could still be attending the university, but you could host collegiate events without allowing pro players to play, but still giving them the opportunity to do so in the fall. I think this is a great mix of what a lot of people are saying about, oh, I don't want pro players in my CRL. It should be a collegiate level only. Pro players are ruining CRL. This is a good mix of an idea of splitting the collegiate space into two, with allowing one section to have pros when it's in the pro off season, and then not allowing to have pros in the spring when we're back in season, right? I think this is a good mix of what kind of everybody's kind of wanting to do, and it still allows for pro players to get scholarships, to go to a college, to get an education. It doesn't really have any negatives. The only negative is like, oh, pro players can't play in the collegiate in the spring, so maybe they don't get a larger scholarship, but they're still getting that education there. They're still at school. They're still attending school, right? I think this is a really good mix of what should be started in the CRL, which is Canada, Mexico, United States, and then maybe pushed towards EU when EU gets brought back in. Hopefully when EU gets brought back in. This format might need to go back to league play if it is going to be a fall-only event, as I don't think 4 one-off tournaments is a good idea for the longevity and success of CRL. I really think, and I agree with what a lot of the community said, is they kind of spit this out as a, hey, it still exists, CRL's still around, but you know, it's not really a focus right now. We just go play, have fun. Wen is very optimistic. I am very optimistic. I'm very optimistic. So yeah, pros won't have to worry about missing RLCS events if they are only forced or are only allowed to play in the fall, and it's the CRL bracket or the CRL event in the fall. Spring, they can go back to their CRL or RLCS teams, and they don't have to worry about playing for their college. Actual college students who aren't pros can play. The only negative to this is like, okay, but this likely means that Epic needs to, and this is probably the biggest case against this format, is Epic probably needs to define what a pro player is in the rule set, or these other tournament organizers do, like NACE and NEC will need to determine, oh, you can't play in this because it's a non-pro event. Okay, but what defines a pro player, right? And there have been many discussions on what people believe a pro player is. Some people think it's, oh, if you've earned money. Oh, if you've, you know, you're ball chasing, there's a pro tab there. Or are you ball chasing pro? Oh, have you made RLCS LAN? Oh, have you made RLCS regional? Oh, have you made RLCS league play? Right? There's so many different factors of what defines a pro, and it's been made worse by Epic allowing 13-year-olds to play in RLCS. That is I almost included that in this presentation, but it didn't really fit. It didn't really fit as much as I'd want it to, so I decided to leave that out. But I am completely against making the age to 13. If you don't know, the minimum age for RLCS should be 18, and it's a stupid decision that they didn't. Sorry if I've missed something, but why does there need to be a definition of pro players for this plan to work? Where does this restriction come in? So this is just the idea that you could have pro players go to a school and not worry about RLCS in the off season and during the CRL season in the fall, for making CRL fall only. And then in the spring, allowing other tournament organizers to host Rocket League collegiate events. But they wouldn't necessarily need to allow pro players to play, as they would likely be focusing more on RLCS in the spring when the season opens up in January. So it's not necessarily that a restriction needs to be in place. It's just an option to enforce pro players to only play CRL in the fall. So this isn't something up to other TOs. It could be, but it might need like permission from Psyonix sort of thing, and I'm not too sure. But it's more so just like the idea of the people who, oh, CRL used to just be like an event for college kids to play in, and that's what it should be, and not just, oh, all the pros just come over and get like scholarships and then destroy CRL. It's kind of a mix of the two, of like fall is for everybody, spring is for just collegiate players. And it's not like, you know, the CRL. If CRL is for everybody, it's for pros if they're getting scholarships for universities and whatnot. Seems like it should work itself out without needing a hard restriction then. Yes, again, the restriction is more so just as like an insurance to force the pros back into the RLCS scene. And then someone be like, oh, I'm going to, you know, I'm not looking for a team right now on RLCS. I'm just going to, you know, grind these collegiate events until April, and then, oh, I'm looking for team again in April, sort of thing. Though perhaps I'm on event scholarships working NA. Yeah, it's also, I think, of scholarships, like right now most scholarships are paid for the whole year, and or in this case is, oh, if you're not going to be playing for us the whole year, we can offer you a smaller scholarship, but still a scholarship, right? Which would also help schools, I guess, getting more players because they're not putting out as much money. I don't know. It's just, again, it's more so of a thought and an idea of then like, you know, this is how you're supposed to do this format. I guess I should have made that more clear in the text, in the case that like, oh, you don't need to restrict. It's just, if you want to restrict, it would give you the best of kind of both worlds sort of thing. Yeah. yeah, going back to the end comment, for the longevity of CRL, moving back to league play or a different sort of style of event and not just like 4 one-off tournaments is probably for the best, as the one-off style tournaments is good for kind of a CRL like B series or like a CCA open series, not so much for the official CRL series. Next, promoting more local events. Wow, what a great idea. I do actually like the idea, to be clear. Thank you. I like it as well. I think it's a great, especially with the calendar year sort of thing they seem to be going for. I think it fit really well. Having more local universities and college play against each other in person is a great way to grow the esport and to grow the passion of the esport. Getting university people to come and watch live matches, right? Like they would watch a live sporting event. Great idea. Epic could start in Psyonic's own backyard by doing something like a California State Championship, where they invite 20 schools and it's an only LAN event, and everyone plays in the LAN. Like they play regular season games like an actual sporting team. They travel to and from universities and they play it on LAN, right? That would be a decent idea for them to start. Now, alternatively, you don't need this idea to be local only. You can expand it nationally and for it to be a new alternative to currently other leagues offered by NACE and NEC. You could do something similar to how high school sports work when you, if you're familiar with doing high school sports, how you would go from playing your local schools, and if you keep winning, you then go to, this is like an American example, then you go to county, then you go to state, then you go to nationals, right? So it's kind of like the champion of the state, and then all the champions of the states come in and they play against each other. Or if you're in Europe or in England, UK, a similar example is an FA Cup style, where the lower schools or the lower teams play each other first, and the higher they go, they start to play the higher end teams until they reach a final, and then that final is played. However, it wouldn't be a club, it would be a university. So it's just kind of like going from your local to your close by to your state, province to national sort of thing. This is, again, an alternative to using NACE and NEC in something in the spring. So you could do your fall thing, and then in the spring do something like this, where you just host, not in a CRL season, but CRL one-off events that are local in certain communities. And then you can branch off and go bigger, once you start to get a following for it locally, right? So again, going back to the California State, LC, Long Beach, Cal Poly, Caltech, San Diego, UCSB, the other Cal Poly that I can't remember, Panoma, who else is there? Santa Monica, University of Santa Monica? I don't know, but we get what I'm saying, where you could get all these California universities, again, this is just the state example, and they can travel, as sports teams do, to a local event to play for a day or two, and then have people show up in person and cheer for these teams. And you can sponsor this event. Psyonix can sponsor this. Epic can sponsor these events, these local leagues, basically, to grow the game at a more local level. I almost wanted to say grassroots, but grassroots would become before university and college, right? And then finally, the last obvious is we've talked about in-game advertising. We need more in-game advertising. Allow people / companies to buy ad space in the game to promote events, tournaments, and locals. Specifically locals. We love locals. Locals are good. We want more local events. We want the game to grow. Grassroots. Thumbs up. This will help generate more revenue and promote more eyes on RL events going on. You could also promote them in Fortnite if you wanted to, right? Like, you can be like, hey, Fortnite, check out this Rocket League event happening. Go look at it. Wink. They could do that if they so choose, but, they just seem to not want to. Yeah. So allowing people and companies to buy ad space in the game on billboards, which they somewhat do, but only for limited time, promotional events, the actual boards around the arena, they really need to, they really could just start selling that for revenue, and get more money, and then put that towards the esports, right? But they just aren't, which is really sad to see. So, this scenarios was a good comment. Epic. Best I can do is another Dallas LAN with no Texas teams. Yeah. All right. Finally, I wanted to shout out some local events that were happening this past weekend / weekend. DJ TJ, congratulations on running a very successful DreamHack Dallas event. Or DreamHack Atlanta, sorry, not Dallas. I was reading Scenarios' comment. But shoutouts to you for getting this together and putting this together. And congratulations to Kennesaw Esports on winning. I know a few of their players have been long awaiting a victory in some capacity. As far as I watched and was told, this event went off without a hitch and was great. And I'd love to see more Collegiate DreamHack in the future. With or without CRL, that's for sure. And then also, congratulations to Colleague on their pre-jump event, pre-jump number 2 event that went off before CRL. It was great, and congratulations to the 3 teams that got first, second, and third: Concord, HSU Storm, and Boise State, I believe that is. So shoutouts to them, shoutouts to Dart, shoutouts to Pulch. Shoutouts to my boys in the Colleague community. They did great work and a great job. And now we're at the end. We're at the Q&A. So if you have any questions, now would be the time to ask them. It can be anything Rocket League related. I'm gonna open it to anything Rocket League related, not just CRL. If you have anything to ask about, if you want to know about Unreal Engine 5, I can comment on that. If you want to know or make an educated guess on that, if you want to know about rostered moves, if you want to know anything, just throw it out there. First question, we're going to switch to Facecam. Why is EU so much better? Well, that is a great question, because it's true right now. EU just came over and dominated CRL, winning their inaugural first event of the year with, I believe it was Harrisburg. So shoutouts to EU. They don't need EU anymore. They're going to just come to NA and beat us here. But why are they so much better? Probably because they focus more on team, like just team plays and playing as a team, and not really more so individual mechanics and doing stuff on your own. I always thought that like EU's value of like teamwork is the real reason why they succeed so much in Rocket League. So yeah, there is that. Any other questions? Probably gonna go for another 10-ish minutes if I don't get many more questions, but we'll see. How many more players are Sinclair going to take from us? They are likely going to keep taking players from you until the school is shut down. Sinclair has one of the best recruiting programs out of any CRL school. And probably the best in all of Canada as far as I know. So they're not going to stop. They're going to keep looking for new talent to bring it over to NA and give them an education. With regard to your idea of having more local events, was there ever talk of splitting CRL into more than 2 conferences? Yes. So, going way back to 2019 when we were 4 conference splitting, which north, south, east, and west. There was talk of kind of expanding more and going northeast, northwest, southeast, southwest, and it was an idea. But Corey at the time wanted to generalize more things and not make them more complex. And there was a lot of backlash from the community. I personally sent a letter or a document to Corey to share with the rest of the esports team. It was 12 pages long, and it went over why certain states should be moved to different regions, or, you know, create different regions. And he told me that kind of sparked the idea of just moving to 2 conferences of East and West to generalize things. So I had a hand in actually creating the 2 conference format that became infamous of East versus West. But that being said, I do think there is an avenue to go in terms of 2 conferences. But now that we're just 1 conference, it's interesting to see. Like, I think that you could do 2 different events. You could do the CRL we have now with everyone's in one pool. We have central servers now, so it's doable. Everyone's in one conference now. Everyone's able to play on a decent ping, so we don't really need conferences anymore. But then on the other side, you could create a separate event where it's all packed down to states, like individual states, and like, all right, who's going to be the state championship of Texas? Who's the state championship of Nevada? Or Nevada, that's in... no, Nevada is a state. I'm losing my mind. I don't know America. I'm Canadian, for the record. I'm Canadian. Who's the champion of Ontario? And then from there, they all come together in a national event that's like either online or in person, preferably in person, and build from that. But I don't think that going forward, we should just stick to one way of doing collegiate events. You know, I think, at least in North America, we have the opportunity to be creative and create more personalized events, whether they expand to national or not, right? Like, you could just end it at, like, oh, the California Championship, blah, 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 right? You could end it there. So, dog got up. She might start barking in a minute. But yeah, I definitely can see a CRL splitting up into more than 2 conferences. And I'd love to try it. The Great Lakes Collegiate Esports League, I think, was a great idea to those who made that, if you've heard of that. They did a really good job, I think, of both advertising and getting certain teams involved. And it's, from what I've seen, looked great and has been organized amazingly. And I think we could see more stuff like that, like the Desert League, which is like California, Nevada, and Texas, or like something like that, or like the West Coast only, and it's just like Oregon and California. I think there's a lot of, and maybe even BC in Canada. I think there's a lot of potential there for creating custom leagues, regions, or conferences, whatever you want to call them. Yeah. And for EU, I'm not quite sure what you guys would do. Because of how many different countries and like languages and stuff you have over there, so it'd probably be harder for you guys to do stuff like that. But I feel like you could do it, just like, you know, get the best team from every country and then put them against each other. Yeah. Has CRL ever considered formats other than 3v3? Yes. Once upon a time, there was discussion to move to 2v2. Back in 2018, I think it was, in the original CRL only Discord, which was just CRL teams and then the admins. When I got into it, I believe that they were discussing, Corey had discussed the possibility of there being moving to 2v2 because they were seeing a spike in that playlist. And it has become the more popular playlist because it's easier to just get one person to play with than 2, right? But they decided not to do that because RLCS was 3v3, and they were pushing 3v3 to be the main game mode of the game. That's like their premier game mode, and it has stuck around ever since. So yes, once upon a time, there was a consideration to move to 2v2, if I remember correctly, but it didn't go anywhere because that's not what Psyonix at the time wanted. They were like, no, we can't just be like pushing 2v2 in this collegiate league. Our LCS is 3v3. We need to make sure everything is 3v3. That is a throwback, Hendo. Yes, it is. It's nice to see you in the chat, by the way. Thank you for showing up. EU is different because most of the existing collegiate TOs are national rather than Europe-wide. Psyonix were keen on us implementing a 2-conference format as well, though, purely to sync up with the night. That is interesting. Did you have an idea of like what you were gonna do? Like, you were gonna do like an east-west kind of like Cold War style like border kind of thing? Like, they dropped it when we explained that nearly 50% of signups came from the British Isles alone. Oh, okay, that makes sense. Which is also kind of unfortunate, but you guys gotta get France in there, man. They gotta figure it out. The French universities have to figure it out. The dog is flopped over beside me. Can you imagine the French join? It's just like Zen and Monkey Moon in CRL EU. They're just together at the same university. We did have one French team that was good until they disappeared. Yeah. Université de Marseille. Yeah, that'd be great. I brought this up earlier, but I really think that they need to fix the age thing again. I think they went the complete wrong direction of making it 13 to match with Fortnite, and that it should be 18 to go pro. They should have like a youth league that's like 13 to 17, and then CRL and pro is both 18 years old when, like, you know, you can go in your first year university. I really think that that's how it should. I think that also would have helped people have a longer career in RLCS, and our average age not being 19 years old, and one of the youngest esports in the world. You know, if you don't know, I was doing research at the time that apparently Jack made his tweets about that, and the research that I found was that the average age of RLCS was lower than CRL, which, find me another sport or esport where the Collegiate League is older than the Pro League, because that's ridiculous. That's not how you build a sustainable sports league. Is that a youth league or a high school league? So youth can be vague because the US has a weird school system where they have something called a middle school, which is not a public school, but also has teenagers, like older teenagers. So I would call it a youth league and not a high school league, because it would be from 13 to 17. So 13, I think, is a year off, if I'm correct. A year off from high school. So I would call it a youth league. Yeah. How many viewers do we have, by the way? I haven't checked in a while. 8? Oh, that's pretty good. Thank you to all who followed, by the way. I had my notifications turned off. That, or they weren't working, or I didn't notice or hear them. So I apologize for that. But I think there's not much more I can say. The only other thing I really wanted to talk about was the Unreal Engine 5 coming up, because Valorant's been switching and everyone's like, and you know, they're not being. My theory, and I've told a few people this, and this has been my thought process for the past few years. Rocket League won't be updated to Unreal Engine 5. Rocket League will be implemented into Fortnite. I think that they're going to move the entire game into Fortnite using the Unreal Fortnite engine, or Unreal Engine 6, which is a combination of Unreal Engine 5 and the Fortnite engine, in order to drive their Fortnite player base higher again. I think that is what is going to happen in the future. And a lot of people are like mad about that, but you can't tell me that Epic wouldn't do that. Look at what they did with Rocket Racing. I can't speak. Chances of Kendo Slice being on CRL stream before he turns 40. I don't know how old you are right now, so I'm going to say 75%. I think you should make a special guest appearance this season. I think that'd be really cool. They should definitely do that for you. You've deserved it. Scenario says sounds very plausible. Yes, it does. And I've talked to Epic devs about it, and they've just told me when I brought up my theories, no comment. So, yeah. Should and will are two very different things. That's true. Sad. Feels bad, man. Feels amazing, man. Oh, my emotes aren't showing up on my camera. That's weird. Oh, maybe because they're better Twitch TV emotes. And I don't have that implemented. It will be interesting to see what Epic has planned for spring. Yeah. It will, if anything, I think it's going to be the same thing. I don't think there's going to be a Worlds. I hope EU gets brought back. I don't know if it will be in the spring or not until next year. People may expect LAN, but I doubt they will have the thing. There's not going to be a LAN. There's no chance. If it is, it's just going to be a one-off LAN event. It's either going to be a one-off LAN event or it's going to be the same thing as fall. But, you know, they could bamboozle. They could go... Back in the day, they would change how many teams would make league play. They could do something like that. I don't know. But with all that, I think I've said everything I've wanted to say. And people are starting to drop off in the viewerships. Maybe briefly talk about doing a CRL show match at one of the RLCS majors as a way to save money. Yeah, I could see that. There are only going to be 2 majors though, right? They're not 3 this year? Or the upcoming year? As a way to save money. I think it's the same again? Okay. I'd much prefer they would do women's events at as a show match instead at RLCS majors. I would much prefer them to highlight the women's community. I don't think CRL really needs a show match at RLCS. It'd be nice to get in front of such a large crowd, but... You know, if they wanted that, they could, you know, get a venue for it. For a CRL, you know. They could have just done that. Hi, dog. How are you? Are you gonna start barking at me? She starts to bark, it's probably time to go. Well, I am going to stop the music in the background, I guess, at this point. Thank you for all those who followed for this stream. And I think that's all I have to say. And dog is woken up now. So she's going to start getting angry and sneezing at the door. So again, thank you everyone who came by and watched my presentation about the state of CRL and what is going on with it. But until next time, I think this is all I have to say. I will be posting this on YouTube as well. Don't know what channel mine. I have like 8. Don't ask me why. I forgot. It's been so long. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching and participating. I'm just going to scroll up through the chat and talk about any comments that I may have missed. Huntley TV said earlier, CRL's format needs a drastic change or it will continue to decline. Why would a majority of schools who are a low GC average play in CRL in which they are put into a double elimination bracket against literal pro players? CRL has become a place or the cream of the crop and not the majority of collegiate students. This directly goes back to my comment of promoting more local events and making CRL fall only and splitting the pro and non-pro into different time frames, I guess, or seasons. We'll do seasons / semesters. So you could have one where the pros, because you shouldn't block anybody from getting scholarships or getting an education, and just because they're good enough at an esport, not allowed to play. I disagree with that entirely. Everyone should be allowed to play. Everyone should be allowed to get an education and get scholarships, not sponsorships, scholarships for what they're good at. But I also agree that there should be maybe a created, someone just comes out with a league that's non-pro. That is like, we're not allowing any pros in this league as long as you're a collegiate student, you can play. So something like that. But again, they would have to define what a pro is, and that is a difficult thing to do. Other comments, Sean said, NACE Star League was 6-3-6 last fall. CRL hit 525. NACE and play first. Splitting changes things a bunch. NACE only accounts for varsity programs now, so there's a big drop-off in club teams. Yeah. That was a comment earlier when we were talking about the numbers of CRL signups. Any other comments I might have missed? Directors like leagues where they can stream matches on a weekly basis, or at least have the chance, and now the Open only provides that for 4 weekends. Roz, I agree. Any other comments I might have missed? Post the link in UR when it comes out, please, Mr. Seda. I will do. I will do. I will do. I like your schedule idea you have in CRL fall, LCQ in January, Worlds in March. That is probably a good idea. Yeah, that'd probably be good. You could extend. You really just got to find the sweet spot of when exams aren't happening, right? April is usually the time when main exams, April, December are mainly the NA times that exams are happening. So as long as you avoid those two, you're kind of golden. And whenever you want to put a Worlds. But if you wanted to simplify it, you could just go straight from league play to a Worlds, or like a LAN event, right? With like, even if it's just 4 teams, it's something, you know. I think we only ever had one in-person event before COVID hit for CRL, and we were going to have another one, but it got canceled from COVID. But that was a long time ago now, multiple years. LCQ allows a tie-in to other leagues and can also be used to ensure that you have a local team at LAN. Yeah, I agree with that as well. I really liked how it was in the first season we had Worlds with the LCQ. We had Canadian-only league, which I was running, by the way. Shout out to Canadian Rocket Soccer, which I was running. We had NACE. We had just, yeah, pick and choose from wherever. They weren't the best teams, but they got their shot in the LCQ, and that was cool, right? So yeah, I agree with you again, Scenarios, about that. Yeah, a Worlds Finals in Jan would be tough because that's the start of the exam seasons for some of our better EU countries. There you go. One thing we've always struggled with EU-wise was differing exam timetables across all countries. I imagine that's a giant headache. I imagine that is a giant headache. That sounds terrible. And I don't want to... Like, CRL only accounts for US holidays, and they've never taken into account Canadian Thanksgiving, which sucked for the Canadian teams, but like, we're not a big enough population for them to care. So the fact that you guys take into account all the countries is amazing. The World's team should all be on scholarship though, so I expect exam dates are more negotiable for them. That's a good point. I didn't think of that. I don't know if that's an EU thing, but I don't know if that's an NA thing. But that is a good point. Well, Psyonix never cared because they just put the actual Worlds in midway through UK exams. Nice. That's great. Coach Stanley, I'm inclined to think CRL needs its own competitive identity. Format change could do it. Yeah. I mean, CRL was the league play event ever since RLCS left it. It was just, you know, when you thought league play, that was CRL, at least in NA. But now, you know, they've moved away from that, and, you know, we don't know if they're going to go back. I hope they do, but we'll see. Worlds 1. Portsmouth spat most of their non-game time revising. Nice. That's good for them. Study first. School first in CRL. Always school first. Game second. Yeah, you're not gonna get much of a future in this game if you don't focus on your studies. Summer series is always fun to schedule in a World Cup or Euros year. Yeah. You guys love your football. Alright, I think I'm going to end it here. About an hour and 30 minutes. Again, thank you all for watching. I will post the YouTube video when I get it uploaded in the EU Discord and in the CRL Discord. So thanks very much. I'm going to see you guys later. And take care. Until next time.